The story of Ibrahim in Arabic, exile is found in several places in the Quran, primarily in Surah Al-Ankabut, chapter 29 verses 24 to 26, Surah Al-Safat, chapter 37 verses 97 to 113, and Surah Maryam, chapter 19 verses 41 to 50. Here's an overview of the key points from his exile. 1. Abraham's rejection of idol worship. Abraham was born into a family and society that practiced idol worship. His father, Azar, was a sculptor of idols, and Abraham strongly rejected the worship of these false gods. He spoke out against idolatry and called people to worship the one true God, Allah. 2. Conflict with the king, Nimrod. One of the most significant events in Abraham's life was his confrontation with the king of his time, known in the Quran as Nimrod, though not named explicitly in the Quran. His title is inferred from hadith and other historical texts. Nimrod was a tyrant who believed he was a god and rejected the concept of monotheism. In Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2 verse 258, the Quran narrates how Nimrod debated with Abraham, challenging him over the belief in one God. Abraham argued that Allah is the creator and the giver of life and death. When Nimrod claimed to have the power to give life and death, Abraham responded by saying that Allah is the one who causes the sun to rise from the east, and Nimrod, in his arrogance, was unable to make it rise from the west, which further proved the greatness of God. 3. The threat of exile. As Abraham's message began to spread and more people followed him, the idolaters grew hostile. The leaders and followers of idol worship plotted against him and sought to punish him for his defiance. Eventually, they decided to cast him into a fire, hoping to end his rebellion. In the Quran, it is mentioned in Surah Al-Ankabut, chapter 29 verse 24, and Surah Al-Safat, chapter 37 verses 97 to 98, that the people of his city, after failing to convince him to worship idols, built a massive fire and cast him into it. However, by the command of Allah, the fire did not harm Abraham. Instead, it became cool and peaceful for him. 4. The divine exile. After the failed attempt to kill Abraham, Allah commanded him to leave his homeland and his people. Abraham, along with his wife Sarah and his nephew Lot, left for another land. This marked the beginning of his exile, as he moved to the land of Canaan, which is believed to be in the region of Palestine. During his travels, he also visited Egypt. In Surah Maryam, chapter 19 verses 49 to 50, it is mentioned that Allah commanded Abraham to leave the land of his people, and he settled in another land. Allah continued to bless him, making him a prophet and a leader for others. 5. The birth of Isaac and the promise. During his exile, Abraham was promised by Allah that he would have a son, Isaac, Ishaq, despite his old age and the barrenness of his wife, Sarah. This promise was fulfilled, and Isaac became one of the great prophets in Islam. Allah also made a promise to Abraham that his descendants would lead the way in the worship of Allah and would be entrusted with guidance. In summary, Abraham's exile in the Quran is part of a larger narrative of his unwavering commitment to monotheism, his trials, and his obedience to Allah. His story highlights themes of faith, sacrifice, and the rejection of false idols.